Good evening and welcome to Encore, your weekly arts and entertainment show on Midlands 103 with myself, Zoe Ryan, in the presenter's seat. On tonight's show, using your craft to bring comfort to others, a sight to be seen and read, and a potential new reoccurring segment on Encore that I'm contemplating titling The Artist's Corner. Coming up, Senior Library Assistant with Castlepollard Library, Rory Megan, will be giving us a breakdown of what's going on in each of the Westmeath libraries this month, courtesy of Bealtaine, whilst artist Claire Guinan will be filling us in on the workshop she has coming up in various locations around the Midlands, as well as ongoing projects she has been working on. But first, last week I saw a post online that caught my eye, an appeal to crochet enthusiasts to get crafting for a cause, and I thought that would make a lovely instalment of Encore on Tour. So I headed along to Tullamore Library to the first of 3 crafting sessions as part of the Purple Hearts crochet project to talk to some of the organisers and attendees.
So my name is Amy Matthews. I'm the Patient Advocacy and Liaison Services Coordinator in Midland Regional Hospital Tullamore.
And Amy, tell me about the Purple Hearts crochet project.
So the Purple Heart Crochet Project was first proposed by Frances Gardner, which is one of our wonderful healthcare assistants. And the aim of the project is simple but powerful. So a set of purple hearts are given to a family. One of those hearts stays in the hands of their loved one, and the other one goes home with the family. And the heart symbolises that continuing bond that a family will have even after death. And obviously, losing someone is an extremely difficult time. And by having these and the donations we get these hearts, it provides some comforts to those families.
So talk me through the initiative then. We're down here at one of the workshops where we can see there's loads of ladies here frivolously working away, crocheting the heart. So talk to me about the process. The ladies come on down. Are they given, we'll say, a pattern to follow?
So there's numerous patterns. So we do have a pattern in the hospital that we give out if needed, but we're not strict as the type of pattern that we have. As you'll see from the packs and from the ladies crocheting here, they come in all different patterns, different sizes. The main aim is that they're purple. That's what we really want.
Why purple?
So purple is the colour of the end of life symbol. That's why we have them purple. Yeah.
And we're here today where it's obviously a community gathering, which is nice to physically meet up in person. And as we can hear, the ladies are having a chat and they're crocheting away. But for a lot of people, they would maybe crochet at home the whole time. They might be just sitting in front of the telly crocheting away. Is it a case of if people want to get involved, but they can't make it down to in-person events, can they create these hearts for you in their own time and send them into you?
Yeah, we would be so welcome of any donations that people do. And we do have people in the community, many people in the community that are already doing this and sending them in themselves. So the information on it, they can find at the Friends of Midland Regional Hospital Tullamore website. So there's information there. Quite often people send them in by post or leave them at front reception or hospital and we collect them. And as you can see here, they then get collected from members of the Friends of the Midland Regional Hospital charity. They get put in these beautiful muslin bags with a beautiful written poem in it as well. And on each ward in each different areas we have a purple box with all of these stored in them. And when a family member loses someone, all staff are aware that one of the purple hearts will go into the hands of the loved person and the other heart will go to the family. Now quite often we can give more to the families if needed, but there are instructions at ward level, in the mortuary and to funeral directors as required to ensure that everyone knows the process for these purple hearts.
So the reason why I decided to come on down today is because we actually lost a family member last month and we were recipients of the Purple Hearts, and when I saw it advertised I said I would love to speak to the people who actually make these and I suppose in a way give back. You've mentioned about the ladies who are here today, they're giving back to the community. I wanted to give back because of my position as a radio presenter to let people know about this, because I can't describe the comfort that being handed these hearts in that moment gave. As you said there, in that moment it's hard to know how you're feeling, and just this compassion that's shown to you when your loved one passes away to hand you these hearts. So would you often get feedback from the families to say about how much it meant to them by being given these hearts?
Thank you so much for being so open and sharing your experience with it, because I think it's so lovely for the ladies here and the other volunteers and the charity associated with the hospital that help out to hear that positive feedback, to know what they're doing. And I think it's important that every stitch that these women make is much more powerful. And I think you've described it so well, but I think it's hard to describe that feeling and the comfort that we're bringing, that these ladies are given to people at such a difficult time in their life. And I think it's something that none of us will see the comfort that brings. And we've heard some lovely stories and feedback from a variety of people in the community about the comfort that this has brought. We've heard people who have framed the hearts into lovely photo frames and kept them hanging on the wall, and it's something that they can look at and remember that they still have that link and that with that person that they loved.
So Louise, tell me, why is it that you're here today at the Purple Hearts workshop?
Right, well, I started crocheting, say, before COVID with the social prescribing group. And then I've done loads of baby clothes, and I've done some preemie babies for the hospital, and I've done things like, little preemie baby hats and little outfits. And then Michelle explained to me about the Purple Hearts. I think it was last year I started doing some Purple Hearts, and I just thought it was a really, really lovely idea, I think a lot of the time people think that everything is about, that time's only about money, but it's the last thing on my mind. I just love the feeling of giving to someone for nothing. It's your time is very valuable, okay, but it's valuable for more reasons than just monetary value.
Shanti, I see that you were working on a lovely heart there with two-tone purple wool. Is this something that you've been doing for a while, or is this your first time working on the crocheted hearts?
I did a couple crochet hearts as practice because I'm much better at knitting than crochet, so I did a couple hearts just to make sure I could get my head around the pattern, but yeah, that's about it. So then just came today to join in.
And why is it that you've decided to come along today to create these hearts?
And mostly it's just gathering with other crafters for a common cause and having a chat and knowing that what you're making serves a good purpose. You get 2 or 3 crafters in a room and they'll all start chatting immediately, regardless of what kind of craft they do, and it's a very easy connection to make.
Yeah. My name is Mary Craven, and I'm attached to the Kilcormac Craft Group. And our local pharmacist asked us would we be interested in doing it, and brought us down the pattern and the whole bit. Now, we found the pattern a little bit difficult, so that's why I'm here today, to just see if I can work with this pattern that they're using here. And it's a lovely group. The ladies all around are more than willing to help you, and the librarian has photocopied off all the patterns for us. Yeah. So we're all ready to go. So I might take a few home and see if we can get, see if more people would be interested, What I would love to see is younger people having the time to do it. It's lovely to see that lady there and her little child, doing it.
And I think that crocheting, it kind of got a renaissance, didn't it? I think after COVID, people who are from a younger generation took it up during that time and have carried it on. So I'd be surprised if you do see more younger people getting involved with it.
Yes, it's wonderful that it's coming back again. And it bonds people. Look we're all there, we're all talking to each other, even though we come from Kilcormac, Tullamore, outside, all around the place.
Carmel, I'm after disturbing you there. You were engrossed in a pattern and we're after pulling you away from your work. What brings you down today?
Michelle asked me. I've been crocheting for donkey's years, since I was a small child, and I love crochet. And it's a great project. It's a great thing to do, to give to somebody, give back to somebody. And that's really why I'm doing it. If you can do some good for somebody who's in a bad place, why not? And it's great for your fingers.
I can imagine, I know a lot of people today have said about that, an escapism for it, it's relaxing, it's lovely to give back, but I imagine it's very good for cognitive, to be kind of practicing the brain. You hear people talking about sitting down in Sudoku, but to do that handwork, I imagine that's doing great things for the mind as well.
Yeah, I'd imagine, yes, because you're counting. But crochet, it keeps your fingers nimble as you get older.
Michelle Quinn, and I'm Social Prescribing Coordinator with Offaly Local Development Company.
And Michelle, we're down here today at Tullamore Library for the Purple Heart Crocheting Initiative. Talk to me about that initiative.
So it's an initiative that has come from the Midlands Regional Hospital, and I had seen it advertised on Facebook, and I just thought, God, it's a lovely initiative. It'd be lovely to get involved with that. And through my role with social prescribing, I have been linked with, craft groups and crochet groups and that sort of thing. So I just thought it'd be lovely to bring some people together who are doing the crocheted hearts already, and then people who have an interest in learning how to do it. So we have a good few volunteers here today who are willing to teach and show and share their skill.
And why was it that when you saw this project you said, yeah, that's something that fits in, it's in line with what we do? So why is it that you wanted to get involved with this particular project?
I suppose we have had crochet groups before and people were learning to crochet, doing their own thing, but I think people like something with a purpose, they like the idea behind the Purple Hearts project. Yeah.
And so this is the first of the project that you're doing in the month of May, but you have a couple of other dates coming up as well. Tell us about what dates, if someone's listening to this and say, God, that sounds like a lovely initiative and I would like to get involved. What dates can people call on down and get involved?
So we are here today, Friday, 11:30 to 12:30. So we'll be back again on the 22nd of May and the 29th of May. So just 2 more Fridays. But if we have the interest, it might be something we could try and organise to meet on a more regular basis, for people to come along and do the hearts and meet other people who are doing the same.
Megan Cronley, and I'm the librarian here in Tullamore Library.
And Megan, talk to me about why it is that Tullamore Library decided to facilitate such a project today.
Well, I suppose we've worked with the social prescribing and Michelle in particular on other projects, and it's fantastic to bring a community together in the spirit of creativity. And it also falls under our Bealtaine programme, which celebrates art and creativity as we age. So we also have needle felting happening around the county, and that is being delivered in partnership with the LOETB Community Education. So we're delighted to partner with them. And it gives people a chance to try something new in a relaxed and welcoming environment. And we have found with any art workshops that we put on, we've had a tremendous response to it. So if the desire is there, we're happy to host and partner with anybody who wants to come in as a community group or as an individual with an idea. We have had everything from the crocheting to a Scrabble club. So we have a chess club who meet weekly here. We have an Irish language group who meet weekly. There's no idea too big or too small.
So if there are any crocheters listening who would like to get involved with the Purple Heart Crochet Project, you can get in touch with Offaly Local Development Company or the Midlands Regional Hospital Tullamore or even Tullamore Library. Up next, you heard it mentioned there, Bealtaine is in full swing with a variety of events still to take place in Laois, Offaly and Westmeath. More to come on that after this. Midlands 103. You are listening to Encore in Midlands 103 with Zoe Ryan, where we've just heard about the Purple Hearts crocheting sessions taking place in Tullamore Library over the next few weeks as part of Bealtaine Festival, which Megan rightly said at the end of that package celebrates the arts and ageing. Joining me now to tell me all about the festivities happening in Westmeath Libraries to mark the occasion is Senior Library Assistant at Castlepollard Library, Rory Meegan. Rory, you are very welcome once again onto the show.
Hi, Zoe. How are you?
Good, thank you. Now, tell us what Castlepollard Library has got on offer this month as part of the Bealtaine celebrations.
Well, we're delighted that the Castlepollard Art Group have agreed to exhibit some of their work for the duration of Bealtaine. So members of the public are able to drop in and enjoy the wonderful works that are on display in the conference room just above the library. That display is going to run from the 1st to the 31st of the month. And secondly, the theme for Bealtaine this year is Lust for Life. So I thought it'd be nice to have a display of some poetry that deals with that theme.
What type of poetry is featured there? Where did it come from? Who selected what pieces? You mentioned there that it was your idea to maybe have it. So talk to me about the poetry that is on offer there.
Well, I was the one who selected it. I did feel that having a poetry display might be a nice accompaniment to the art exhibitions. You'd have a combination of the paintings and the written word. I think that the theme of Lust for Life, it can often find expression through creativity, and whether that's through creative writing, painting, or any other form of self-expression. The poems on display are certainly works that most lovers of poetry are going to be familiar with. So in keeping with the theme of Lust for Life, we selected poems by many of the greats like Dylan Thomas, Rudyard Kipling, Maya Angelou, Robert Frost, John Keats, Emily Dickinson and Patrick Kavanagh. There are also a couple of ones that might be lesser known that found their way into the display, and that was a very deliberate choice on my part. These were ones that I'm particularly fond of. When I was much, much younger, my parents used to read to me from a book called, it was a Ladybird book called Bedtime Rhymes. And I absolutely loved the poems in this. I just thought that so many of them were so much fun. As a very small boy, I had no understanding or awareness of poetic technique, but I just loved hearing these poems being read out. So a few of them made their way into the display as well, and they'd include works from Robert Louis Stevenson, J.A. Linden, Alfred Noyes, and Kenneth Grahame. So by all means, please drop into the library and take a look at them. And like the art display, they're running for the month of May.
So the poetry that you've selected, they're from well-known poets, but the artworks, maybe not so much so. You mentioned that it was the Castle Pollard Art Group are the ones who have created these works. That's right.
We're really fortunate in that we have a good relationship with the Castle Pollard Art Group for several years now. Throughout the years, they've arranged blocks where local artists can gather together and meet and paint as a group. And the level of talent and creativity is absolutely fantastic. And over the past few years, we've been fortunate enough for artists to display their work, usually in the run-up to Christmas. But we were delighted when they agreed to help us host a Bealtaine display. So a huge, huge thank you to Deirdre Clougher in particular, who helped to organise it all and who's a prominent member of the Castle Pollard Art Group. Members of the public are very welcome to come in and peruse the works on display. Some of the paintings will be for sale, and we'll be very happy to help any interested people get in touch with the artists if they'd like to purchase anything.
And you mentioned there about all members of the public are welcome. This is a free access event, as is the nature of a library, open to anyone to come into, and it's free as well. Yes,
completely free. Drop in during business hours. That's all available on our website, or contact your library for clarification if there's any confusion there. But members of the public are encouraged just to drop in and enjoy both the poetry and the art that's on display.
And Rory, why is it, do you think, that it's important for the likes of libraries, which are central community hubs like yourselves, to engage in events like Bealtaine?
Well, I think Bealtaine is a celebration of ageing and of creativity, art and creativity. Westmeath, it's got an ageing population, and I think that as community hubs, we have a responsibility to acknowledge and to celebrate that. I think it's important to emphasise that this isn't something that just happens in the month of May. Westmeath libraries in general, I think, have a very good reputation and a very good track record when it comes to making an effort to meet the needs of older patrons. We offer things like advice on your device, which encourages older people to drop into the library for guidance on how to access online resources. We have the M4 Knitting Group and the Irish Country Women's Association. They meet regularly, at least in Castle Pollard Library. And when possible, we offer free one-to-one lessons aimed primarily at older library users who are looking for guidance on how to make most of their laptops, tablets or smartphones. Bealtaine is merely a more formal recognition of what Westmeath Libraries does on a daily basis, merely with a more specific focus on arts and creativity.
And Rory, tell me, you've mentioned there that it's obviously Castle Pollard Library is what we're focusing on here, but there are events happening across all Westmeath libraries for the month of Bealtaine. So what can people expect happening in those libraries?
Athlone Library, which reopened in the past few months after having some work done to it, is having Pages from the Past, which is an exhibition of newsworthy items from Westmeath newspapers from 20, 50 and 75 years ago. So dropping in and looking at that and seeing what was deemed newsworthy in various stages of our history is an interesting one. That's running throughout the month of May. Mullingar Library will be offering Coffee and Craft on the 15th of May at 11 a.m. That's going to be celebrating Bealtaine 2026 with coffee and a flower-themed arts and crafts session. That's for adults, and booking is required for that. Right. Moat Library will also be hosting an event that requires booking on the 20th of May from 2 to 4 p.m. Moat will be offering Building a Vision Board. So it's basically a means of expressing your dreams and coming up with a roadmap of how to attain them. It's going to be an afternoon of creative play, focusing on yourself, your dreams and ambitions for the future, and what you'd like to manifest in your life. Then we have Kilbeggan Library on the 28th of May from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. We'll be offering poetry sharing sessions. So come along to our lovely librarian in our poetry corner and celebrate a love of poetry by sharing your favourite poem or listening to others. So you can drop in whenever it suits you, stay as long as you'd like, and the theme for the poetry of this year is going to be home. We are delighted that Kinnegad Library is now up and running. It's the latest addition to Westmeath Libraries, and they have certainly hit the ground running by offering an abundance of things for people. And Bealtaine this year is no exception. The first event that they'll be offering is an adult wellness corner to run throughout the month of May. It's a space designed to support your well-being. They'll be offering things like a community jigsaw puzzle, creative workbooks, gel pens and colouring pages. There'll be a chessboard as well for some quiet play. So please come along, feel free to sit, relax and take a mindful moment. And another event that will require booking is the information skills sessions. As I mentioned, Kinnegad is the latest addition to Westmeath Libraries, so maybe an awful lot of the local people might still be unaware as to precisely how to make the most of the library. They have 3 sessions, now the first of which has already taken place. That took place on the 7th of May, but there are 2 more that you can book for, one on the 21st of May and the other on the 28th. The sessions are going to run from 3 to 4 p.m. and the information is exactly the same in all sessions. There are 3 one-hour sessions, each covering the same information about your membership, available services, and a short Q&A at the end. So if you book a place, you only need to book for one because, as I said, the same information will be offered throughout all 3 sessions.
And it's great to hear that there's so much variety. There's a real mix there of different activities that's happening across the month, because you often could see the same kind of workshops recycled time and time again, whereas it's nice to see that there is a different kind of stance on it. And as you said, very heavily focusing on that creative, artistic aspect of things.
And I think we're very, very lucky with the staff that we have in Westmeath Libraries, where when we have an event like Bealtaine, I think the individual creativity comes out and all that. I mean, I have a background in teaching, a teacher of English, which is probably what influenced my decision to do the poetry. But you would have other members of staff whose personal interests and whose life experiences have influenced them in how they've chosen to celebrate Bealtaine in the libraries that they work in. So please, anybody who's listening, please feel free to visit as many of the libraries as you like and enjoy what's on offer.
And are there any events that maybe haven't been taken up yet by Westmeath Libraries but that you'd love to see happen, maybe that down the line you'd like to pitch to see if it's something that they'd like to run?
We always have something on our mind, and of course ambition is a wonderful thing, but it can get a little bit out of control. I think for the time being all we can say is whenever we have something new to offer, it's something that we have to sit down carefully and discuss and see how practical that is, and to be honest, whether or not it would benefit the most number of people who come into the library to enjoy it.
Exactly, yeah. I more so was asking if there's something that's on your kind of wish list of dreams that you particularly would love to see happen that maybe hasn't yet. But obviously, like that, you have to think, okay, who's our target audience? Who do we generally get coming into the library? What would they go for? But I suppose it could be an opportunity to say, what's the group that we don't see coming into the library and how do we appeal to them?
Well, we're always trying our level best to appeal to the young adult group. That would be usually secondary school students.
Yeah.
That seems to be a very, very common theme in libraries throughout the country of how do we get the teens in greater numbers. I will say at the moment that we have quite a few coming in the build-up to the Leaving Certificate.
I can imagine.
And they're more than welcome. And just on a side note, before they sit down for the formal exams, we'd like to wish them all the very, very best of luck.
Rory, as always, thank you for being so generous with your time this evening. Best of luck with the remainder of the Bealtaine celebrations and looking forward to what's next to come for the library.
Thanks so much, Zoe.
And it is worth noting that there are plenty of activities happening across libraries in Laois and Offaly, as well as Westmeath for Bealtaine, some of which we will be exploring on next week's show. But in the meantime, do look into what's happening in your local library. Still to come, you may be familiar with paint and Prosecco, but what about paint and pints? Well, the lady behind the concept will be with us very soon.
Midlands 103.
It is Zoe Ryan bringing you Encore on Midlands 103 on this very changeable Thursday evening. Now, my next guest is a Midlands artist I've wanted to have on the show for some time, but I was waiting for an opportunity and finally I've got one. Well, actually two. She has 2 workshops coming up locally. So I've gotten her into the studio on the premise to talk about the workshops. But whilst I have her here, she looks concerned. I will be asking her about her wider work because she is a highly talented, multidisciplinary artist, which means she works across several art forms. So I've a long list of questions here in front of me. She was born and raised in Tullamore, but Athlone has her now. It is artist Claire Guinan. Claire, thank you so much for agreeing to join me in the studio this evening.
Thank you for asking me.
So Claire, you've got a good few projects going on at the moment in the locality, but we'll start off with talking about one that's been a bit of a reoccurring project for you, which is your Paint and Pints. Where is it that the idea for Paint and Pints came from? Because I feel like maybe more in the cities, we've heard of the Paint and Prosecco. Did it kind of follow on from that, but localise it a bit to Paint and Pints?
Yes, so I've been doing the class for around 3 years now. The whole idea of having the pints was just, there was a brewery in Athlone that makes beer, so I thought that Paint and Pints, it would be a good idea. Yeah. So it is kind of like copying the Paint and Prosecco, but I just thought pints would be nicer.
And so that's coming up on the 21st of this month in Dead Centre in Athlone.
Yeah, third Thursday of every month is usually what we do. It's for anybody, and even someone who thinks they can't draw or paint, they'll go home with a masterpiece.
Yeah, because I know that something you've said before is that with a lot of these community projects, you're trying to bring out the artist that's in everybody.
Yeah, well, you don't need to be arty. You just like to be. It's just a fun evening, and usually the time flies by. 2 hours just is people don't even notice it go by. So, yeah, it's a fun day.
And how is it that you got into that? Because, as I said, you're a multidisciplinary artist. You dabble in a lot. You've done sketch, you've done paint, jewellery as well. How is it that you got into doing these workshops?
I suppose after COVID, everybody was very interested in painting again. I think that people found it very relaxing when they were stuck inside for a few years. So I think it kind of came from that. We've done landscapes, flowers, birds. The Meeting on the Stairs, which is the famous painting in the National Gallery. I try to maybe bring in an artist, like a famous artist painting every now and again, and do our own kind of slant on it. So it's kind of educating people about art as well.
And you mentioned there about doing some landscapes. You have another workshop then coming up at the end of the month out in Bora, and that's called Brushstrokes in Bora. So talk me through what people can expect from that.
This is my second time to run this workshop. So we're going to be sitting outside the Ballycommon Bakehouse and we'll be overlooking the lake. And it's just, we'll do exactly the same. We'll be painting a picture, but it's by the lake and it's really, really nice. It's outside. It's also covered just in case it rains. And then we'll have tea and scones during it or after, depending on whatever people want that. But it's just basically just to sit outside around nature and to paint something lovely.
I assume that you're actually going to be painting the scenes around you. So that's not the case. You're going to still be painting, say, something that you come up and say, OK, today we're going to be doing this. I thought it would be that look out onto the landscape and just paint what you see.
No, I don't, because I think people kind of they might be a bit nervous about starting their painting like that. The last picture that we did out there was a swan, because I had walked around and I saw lots of swans when I was there. So we actually painted a swan. And when we were painting, there was an actual swan going up and down the lake.
So very fitting.
It did actually work quite nice.
Yeah. So that's some of the upcoming projects that you have going on. But talk to me about your art in general. How was it that you came to art? Because it's been a long road for you. Art has always been with you.
Yeah, I've always loved art. When I was younger, I would always get the art sets for Christmas or whatever, or the beads. And Mammy was a dressmaker, so I used to go out to her workroom and make clothes for my teddy bears and stuff. And yeah, so I was always kind of arty and creative. And when I went to art college, I was like, I'm going to be a fashion designer or a graphic designer because it's easier to get a job in it.
What a motivation.
Yes, exactly. And then when I went to college, I found printmaking and I loved it. yeah, that got me. So that was the end of my fashion career. No. But when I finished college, I couldn't find any printmakers around, so I started painting. And then I'd always been interested in jewellery as well. So I went to National College of Art to a night course and did jewellery design. Most of my jewellery is based around music.
Yes, I had seen that, and I see you have a fabulous necklace on at the moment. Is that one of your own?
Yeah. So it's a plaque, and this one here is inspired by Florence and the Machine song King.
And was there ever any question for you? You said that, you always kind of did art. I know myself, I would have been that child that they always got the art set at Christmas or your birthday. When in doubt, get her something crafty, she'll love it. But to actually make that decision of going, I'm going to go to college and I'm going to study art, and I know that I want to do a profession in it, even though maybe the profession you thought you'd go into, you didn't end up doing it. Was there ever any question about pursuing art as a career choice?
No, I don't know. I just I've always wanted to do, you want to love what you do. I don't know if I would be good at anything else. Do you know, I do question things. Like, I think that's part of every artist, that you questioned your life choices,
At one point or another, yeah.
Yeah.
And you mentioned there about doing teaching. Do you find that when you're an artist, maybe because the work's not always there, or there's not always money to be made on a constant basis because maybe projects take time to do, would you do the teaching to kind of supplement it, to say for an income, or do you just love teaching? Do you want to just spread your love for art and to educate people on it?
I suppose it's a mixture of two. Like, I do love painting pints. I do love how everyone is given the same image, and then everyone, it's their own take at the end of it. So like, you can do what you want. I'm not strict. Like, you can add things to it or whatever, and it's just really nice to see what people come out with at the end of it.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that people are given the same item, and it's interesting to see how they take their own stylistic stance on it, like completely unrelated, but in a way it is. I recently was at a party of my friends, and she decided to do a Taskmaster themed party. And for anyone who's unfamiliar with Taskmaster, it's like a game show where basically on the original one, it's that celebrities, it was just her mates who were doing it, but they're all given the same task to do. And it was mad to watch how people approach the same task in a completely different way. It just shows how the mind works in completely different ways. So I imagine when you're watching people like that, they're given an item to do, but they take a completely different look on it. I'd say to see the variety is just mad.
Yeah. No, I love it. And I know I'll probably say it at the end of every class, but it is really, really cool to see everyone's style. And people, like, sometimes people just use one colour, or they want to put the same colour in everything. That's grand. There was a lady that came to my art class for a while, and she used to put her daughter's teddy in every picture. So it'd be hiding somewhere. Do you know, like, it is just really nice because it becomes theirs then.
Yes, yeah, that's their thing then.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned there about the music and how that would have inspired your jewellery. But I know something that you very heavily kind of focus on as well is to give a piece of art as a gift. And you would do commissions like that, like, the likes of a new baby, or maybe I know that you do sketches of wedding dresses as well for people.
Yeah. I suppose the underlying bit of my art, it would be like it's connected to emotion. Like, to me, like, about music, I love music. A song means so much to somebody. It brings back memories and stuff. So that's why a lot of my jewellery is based on music and stuff like that. So the wedding dress sketches would be kind of just capturing that moment. Because the dress probably never comes out again.
Yeah,
exactly. And it's nice. And the first anniversary wedding gift is paper.
That's right.
So it's
a very fitting option.
Yeah, so that's like, yeah. I do baby drones as well. I love doing little portraits and stuff, so I do quite enjoy doing stuff like that.
So over the years you've done a lot of commissions for people. What is a piece that maybe stands out in your mind that you've done across any of the mediums that you work in that just sticks with you for some reason?
I did a beautiful piece actually for a woman wanted to get her friend a piece of jewellery for her mother had passed away, and she was listening to a song by Nick Cave, Into Your Arms, and I made a little silver necklace with 3 little candles, and the flames moved.
Lovely.
When you wore it. I do enjoy working with people to come up with ideas, and and usually people are like, whatever you think, which I love when people say that to me.
Free reign
Yes,
for you.
I can do it, but like I am very sentimental, I suppose. I always try to add little bits, things that, you know, I research what they're talking about, or something that, you know, it makes it more personal to them.
So in regards to upcoming projects, as I said, we have Paint and Pints. That's a monthly thing for you. You've got the brush strokes at Bora. What else is coming up for Claire?
Well, I've a few yolks on the go now. So I am working on a project with Creative Ireland. It's called Drawing Darrow. So it's about the Book of Darrow. And I'm working with the Tullamore Women's Shed. And we are looking at the Book of Darrow as starting point. So we're kind of exploring the lettering, the illustrations in it. And we are making up work to go into an exhibition for Heritage Week.
Ah, okay. So that's what you're working towards with that.
Yeah, so that's an 8-week course. We're in around 3 or 4 weeks, 3 weeks done at the moment, and we're just developing ideas and stuff. So that's really cool. And I never realised how interesting the book, you know, when you sit down, you don't realise the Book of Darrow, you know, you're from here, you've heard of it obviously, but there's so many cool little things in it, and it's influenced so many other manuscripts.
Really?
Yeah.
There's so much like detail in them. As you said, there's the writing, but then there's the patterns, and some of it you don't see anymore. Like it's like a lost art form.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, at the back of the book, the monk said it took 8 days, and there's questions whether or not it took him 8 days to write. It was 248 pages, I think, or something, in the actual book.
And all the art as well.
Yeah, now he could have, I don't know, but it's
well,
really,
if he did,
really
he'd be some man to get that done in 8 days.
Exactly. But it's really cool, like, if you look really closely, there's, like, fish in it, there's hidden crosses, there's, like, it's a very clever book.
It's one of those things that, as you say, we've heard of it. We've probably seen snippets from it. But when you take that closer look, you see things in it. As you said, it's like when you look at manuscripts, it's minute little details.
Yeah. No, it's really, really cool.
And how has that been received? You said you teamed up with the Women's Shed for that.
Yeah, so the Tullamore Women's Shed, they're great fun. They are full of ideas, and they're very creative. I'm very looking forward to what the exhibition we're going to have now. That exhibition, just when I think of it there, the Drawn Darrow exhibition is going to be in Esquire Arts. It's opening on the 15th of August, so that's the beginning of Heritage Week. So,
yes.
That's
one to put in the calendar.
Exactly, yes.
And would you kind of, we'll say, team up with other groups like that often, or would you generally work independently?
I have worked with so many groups over the years. I've worked in schools, I've worked in nursing homes. I've kind of done, like I'm open to anybody that would like a workshop. Do you know, I don't mind,
You're kind of open to ideas. You wouldn't rule out any kind of collaboration.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting to do collaborations and stuff. Like even it's great to hear other people's ideas, because sometimes you don't think of some stuff.
Yeah,
you know, and it's nice to hear new ideas.
I'm going to press pause there to allow Claire to take a sip of her coffee that has no doubt gone cold by now, but maybe not actually, because the cup did near scald me when I was carrying it in here. Thanks to Liam in the newsroom, by the way, for the late warning about that one. He literally said, as he saw me struggling, "Oh yeah, those mugs overheat really quickly." Well, sure, look, at least I know now. But stay with us, because we'll be resuming our conversation after this.
Midlands 103.
It is Encore with Zoe Ryan, joined in studio by multidisciplinary artist Claire Guinan, who has been telling me about all of her upcoming projects as well as some of the inspirations behind her work, with music being a massive one. So Claire, you mentioned how your jewellery is often based on song lyrics, but you did a fabulous collection of paintings on musicians as well.
Yeah, so I got an idea that I love portraits and I love music, and I was like, sure, why don't I paint portraits of these musicians? So I just got a notion and I started emailing people.
As all great projects start with.
You know, this is like 10 o'clock at night, and I
hounding
was like,
people.
Sure, why not? So I started emailing all these people, and the first person who got back to me was Gavin Friday, and I was like, this might actually work.
You're like, someone's interested, someone's going for it.
Yeah, so I just started emailing all these people. I think there's 17 or 18 in it now, but it's kind of like a working. I'm adding to it.
Okay, so it's an ongoing project.
Yeah. So go around and meet all the musicians in wherever they are. I've met them in Dublin, I've met them in Cork, I met them in Tullamore. And what happens is that they'll be like, "Oh, do you want to ask this fella?" And I was like, "Oh, grand job. And then they gave me their number or whatever, and there's more portraits. And then I had an exhibition in Dublin, and I was chatting to someone, and they were like, would you paint a picture of Phil Lynott? I was like, sure, why not? And I went out and met Philomena, his mammy, and she gave me loads of boxes of photos of him, and she was like, whatever you want.
Yeah, do what you may with these.
Yeah. So I painted him. It would have been his 70th, so that was what that painting was for. So that was great fun. And then I've painted musicians from Tullamore as well. I did a painting of Donald Lunny. So he was born in Tullamore.
Did not know that.
Yes. So I painted him, and that was in the Esquire Arts Artists show. That was probably around 3 years ago, maybe. And it's great actually, because when I met him up in Dublin, and sure, we were chatting for like probably an hour.
Yeah.
And it turns out that he did jewellery design in the National College, NCAD, and he decided that music had got him was too late. So it was funny that like the two of us were sitting down and finding out about that. And the artist show that was there recently in Esquire Arts, I did a painting of Tallulah McKay.
Fabulous. Yes. She has been on this show before. She's a brilliant talent in the Midlands.
Yeah. So I actually met her in the Court Hotel one day to take a photo. But it's funny that, like, you know, I'd seen her play. She was at the Creelor Festival in Athlone last year. Happened to see her, and I was just like, any interest in doing a portrait? If I could do a portrait of you.
Yeah.
She was like, grand job. I was like, that's grand. So, yeah.
And would you find that maybe some artists have seen this project, like musicians that go, I'd love to get involved in that, and they've reached out to you to ask you to paint them? Or do you find it's you going to them?
It's me going to them.
People don't tend to put themselves forward for interview a lot.
They don't usually, no.
You're clearly a very big music fan yourself.
Yeah, I know, I do. I love music. My problem is gigs. I go to too many, but I love music. I love how it makes you feel. I love as well the lyrics. I suppose when I was younger, I used to always listen to the music lyrics and see what they were saying. And I'm kind of working on an own series at the moment of like my interpretation of their lyrics. Yeah, so it mightn't. That's not what, like, I'm not saying that's what they meant when.
It wasn't their intention.
But it's just me listening to it, what I get from it.
But isn't it great to say that one art form can inspire another? You know, like you're listening to music and then that's inspiring you, whether it's paintings to do or whether it's making jewellery. You're taking their art and putting it into your own craft.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how you say about interpretation. Like, I know poetry happens all the time. I remember when I was doing my Leaving Cert, actually, and it was one of the Irish poets that were on the curriculum at the time. They actually managed to get her to come out to the school, which was quite unusual because a lot of the poets on that list, it may have changed now, they've since passed. So it was unusual to be able to get a poet to come out and actually talk about their work. And it was like, this is your opportunity now to ask her about her interpretation. And I'm not messing. The amount of times that poor lady was standing there and, you know, someone puts the hand up and says, I'm just wondering, and is that what you meant? And they're like, that's one way to look at it, but no, that's not what I meant. So isn't it mad the way people can be full sure that that is how they interpret someone else's words, but that wasn't the artist's intention at all?
Exactly. But it means like songs and poetry means something different to everybody. And I think that you've succeeded if something that you've written has made an impact on someone.
Yeah. And someone reads your words but takes it in the way that's relevant to them. Or, you know, I suppose you're looking at someone's life is obviously going to affect how they would look at certain things.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's really cool.
Fantastic, Claire. It's been lovely having you out in the studio this evening, and I look forward to seeing what other workshops that you come up with down the line.
Yeah, no, I have 2 more workshops coming up. I have a Painting Pints in Tullamore in John Lee's on Thursday the 25th of June, and then the Canoe Nog, which is a children's free art day. So I am going to Saturday the 6th of June. I'm going to be in the Moat Library, and I have 2 classes for children. So one is for 3 to 4 year olds and the other one is 5 to 8 year olds. Yeah, so if you want to book them, you go onto the website, the Westmeath Libraries, and you can book that there.
So plenty of exciting projects coming up.
Loads of projects.
Fantastic, Claire. Thank you so much again.
Thank you for asking me.
And if there are any musicians listening who would like Claire to do your portrait, do get in touch with her on her social media channels. That's Claire_Guinan on Instagram and Claire Guinan Art on Facebook, or through her website claireguinan.com. Something I want to bring to your attention is that there is an open casting call happening next week for an upcoming production at Mullingar Arts Centre. Let me get the poster up here. So it is a comedy production called Rumours, and the description is: the play is a fast-paced comedy set during a disastrous anniversary party that quickly descends into confusion, secrets, misunderstandings and plenty of hilarious chaos as guests attempt to cover up a shocking incident. The production promises a fun and welcoming experience with a variety of roles available for performers of different ages and personalities. Anyone interested in taking part can simply attend on the night. So that's going to be taking place in Mullingar Arts Centre next Wednesday and Thursday. So Wednesday the 20th, Thursday the 21st from 7:30 p.m. So that sounds like a really interesting one. I'd like to get involved in that one myself. So they are going to be next week. So I said I called them out because it'd be too late to tell you about it next Thursday. So if you do feel like popping along to that, do give it a go. That's all for me tonight. Joe Cooney is up next, bringing you your nightly dose of country music with Country Roads until 10 p.m. I'll be back in this same seat next week, 7 to 8 on Thursday evening. It's shaping up to be quite a full show, actually, with an in-studio reading of an excerpt from an upcoming play on the cards, as well as lino printing, not happening live in the studio, although maybe we could arrange that. Have to look into that one. Anyways, along with plenty of more Bealtaine activities, as is the beauty of May every year. It's the gift that keeps on giving. But there is actually something else I wanted to mention. I heard this on the Midlands Today show yesterday, which is Incognito Art Sale 2026. So you can listen back to the Midlands Today show on the podcast section on Midlands 103's website or wherever you get your podcasts. And that was really interesting. It was saying about how these paintings go on sale. You put in a bid for them. You don't have any idea what artists they're made by, but there are a number of Midlands artists. So I think that you'd be able to twig yourself. If you knew an artist style really well, you'd be able to identify it. So that sale happens on May 20th and it is all going to a good cause. It is for Jack and Jill's Children's Foundation. Until next week, that is it from me tonight. Good night.